Okay.
Okay, guys, it's review time. Class number 15 of 16. It's time to do what we would call the practice road test. So let's explain a few things about the road test first. When you go to take a road test, you're going to need three things. Because you're most likely going to be under 18, you're going to need three things. You're going to need your photo permit. You're going to need your certificate from either the 5-hour pre-licensing class or the driver ed completion certificate. The 5-hour pre-licensing class certificate is called the MV278, and the driver ed completion certificate is called the MV285. If you are under 18 at the time of the road test, you are also going to need parental consent for you to be able to take the road test. That would be in the form of MV-262. It's what they call the certification of supervised driving. Your parents must certify that you've had at least 50 hours of supervised driving before you can take a road test. Again, that is only if you are under 18 at the time of the test. If you're over 18, you will only need to bring your photo permit and whichever certificate you have, the MV278 or the MV285. Okay? You also, if you have a restriction on your permit to wear glasses, you must wear your glasses or contacts or you will not be able to take the test. The other thing is, when we're dealing with the world we're in now, everybody's favorite pandemic, there's a bit of restrictions when it comes to the pandemic rules and taking road tests. The first one is you obviously must wear a mask. Mask must cover your face and nose throughout the entire road test time. The other thing is that they're going to take your temperature at the road test site. So they will reach into the car with a handheld thermometer and point it at your forehead and take your temperature. They're also going to take the temperature of the accompanying driver that brings you to the test, whether it's a driving instructor, a parent, a guardian, or a friend. They're going to take their temperature as well. And if either one of you registers a temperature of 100.0 or higher, they will not allow you to take the test. They'll also put you in a protocol where you will not be able to even schedule another road test for 2 weeks. So not only will you not be able to take the test, but your ID number will be frozen in the DMV's computer system for 2 weeks before you're able to schedule another road test appointment. So make sure that we recommend that you take your temperature prior to taking the road test. Because if you have a fever, don't even go. Because you can not go and just reschedule your road test. But if you do have the fever, or if someone in the car has the fever, they're not going to let you take the test, and you're not going to be able to schedule another test for 2 weeks. The other thing is that when you go to take a road test, the person that brings you to the road test must have their license, their registration, and their proof of insurance in the vehicle ready to show the examiner. The registration and the inspection stickers on the windshield must be valid. If either the registration or the inspection sticker on the windshield is expired by even 1 day, they will not allow you to take the road test. When you arrive for a road test, you should not be behind the wheel. The driver that brings you to the test stays behind the wheel until someone from the DMV tells you to get behind the wheel. Once they tell you to get behind the wheel, adjust your seat, adjust your mirrors, have your seatbelt on, and be all ready for the next examiner to test you. Listen to what the examiner says. They're not there to trick you into making mistakes. They are in the car just like you are in the car. So they're not about to tell you to do something stupid that would be risky to not only your life but theirs as well. DMV examiners are people just like you and me. Their job is to determine whether you're good enough to pass a road test or not. And that all goes by the point system. The point system, which is not the point system we talked about earlier as far as the driver violation point system. This is the scoring system that the DMV examiners use. The scoring system allows you to make a certain amount of mistakes before you fail the test. You are allowed a total of 30 points worth of mistakes. If you get any more than 30 points, you will fail the test. So a score of 0 up to 30 will still pass the test, but if you have 35 points or more, you'll fail the test. If you fail the test, you will be allowed a second opportunity to take the road test. You paid for 2 chances to take the road test when you paid for your learner permit. So you'll be allowed a second opportunity to take the road test if you fail the first one. If you fail 2 tests, you have to pay $10 to the Department of Motor Vehicles online in what they call a skills test fee. And you pay that to be able to schedule 2 more road tests. If you pass the test with a score of 0 to 30 points, you will get a temporary license that is good on the spot. The temporary license is valid for 90 days. You must keep your piece of paper that they give you, the temporary license, with your photo permit. The 2 things together will serve as your photo license until you receive the actual photo license in the mail. Once you receive the photo license in the mail, do not throw away your photo permit, because it is still a form of New York State photo ID. As far as the photo ID goes, keep that, because if for any reason you take a trip where you're going someplace where you don't need to rent a car, then leave the license at home and just bring the permit. It's still a form of New York State photo ID, and you want to have as many forms as possible. When they hand you the receipt, if you pass the test, the bottom of it will read, "This receipt is your temporary license. It's valid for 90 days from the date of the test. The receipt must be kept with your photo permit. Your license will be sent to you in the mail. Do not go to a motor vehicle office." So it's imperative that you keep that piece of paper, which you also must sign, that you keep that piece of paper with your photo permit, because That's a license. I could tell you a story of one time I worked at a place in Uniondale where I had the student that was really a kind of a troublesome kid throughout the semester. And the week before the last class, he asked me if I pass my road test next Tuesday, can I drive on the parkway? And I said, sure, if you pass your road test, you can go on the parkway. So that next class came, and I asked him, how did he do? And he said, yeah, I passed. And I said, where's your license? So he shows me his permit. I said, no, the license. And he said, oh, that piece of paper? Oh, I left that at home. I said, so you left your license at home? He says, yeah, but I still have my permit. And I said, no, you don't. And he's like, what are you talking about? This is my permit. I said, not a permit anymore. It's now a photo ID. The piece of paper that they gave you was your license, and you left it at home. So he says, so what are we going to do? You told me I could drive on the parkway. I said, sure, if you had your license, I'd let you drive on the parkway. I said, I had everything all set up for you. You got to realize this is a 5:30 class, and at 5:30 at night, there's traffic going all over the place. So I had it all set up for you to go east on the Hempstead Turnpike to the Meadowbrook Parkway, where then we would go north, where all the traffic was going south. Then we would get to the Northern State Parkway, and you would go west, where all the traffic's going east. So he says, so can we go to my house and get it? I said, you live in West Hempstead. If we do that, the only parkway you're going to get a chance to drive on is the Southern State. And whether you're going east or west, it's nothing but traffic at that time. So you blew your opportunity to go on the highway. Needless to say, he was a little upset, but my boss actually backed me up on it when it found its way to the desk of the people that are in charge of that program. So, anyway, as we move along, when it comes to the license that they give you, keep it with your photo permit. That will serve as your photo license until you get the one piece that is the actual photo license. The license expiration date is going to be the expiration date of your learner permit. So whatever date is currently on your permit is the date that your license will expire. Many people have permits that won't expire until 2024, which means that the next time you have to pay for your driver license would be 2024. Okay, they expire on your birthday, and you have to get it renewed before the expiration date. The way it works with the DMV at this point is they're going to send you an application in the mail, and that application is going to give you the opportunity to renew your license one of three ways, either by mail or online or at a DMV office. But keep in mind, these days, the DMV offices, due to the pandemic, which does not seem to be ending anytime soon, they say 2021. I say no way. We're going to be wearing masks and gloves for a long time. Okay? So what you're going to do is most likely be renewing your license by mail. If you have to absolutely take a new picture, because there's always people going to say, whoa, I need to take a new picture. I hate this picture, yada, yada, yada. First off, how many times are you going to take your license out? Okay? You're going to show it to a police officer. They're not going to look at how bad your hair looks that day. So it doesn't really matter. Have whatever picture on your license for as long as you can have it. Wouldn't you love to look like you're 16 or 17 when you're 25? Some people actually still do. So, be prepared when you go to take the road test. Bring everything with you. Make sure that the car that you take the road test in is very clean. And the accompanying driver that brings you to the test is also going to be responsible for cleaning the passenger side of the vehicle before the DMV examiner gets in the car. You need to have some disinfectant wipes in your vehicle so that way you can wipe down anything that the DMV examiner might touch, like the dashboard, the door handles, both inside and out, the mirror controls, the window controls, anything where the examiner might touch. You need to have disinfectant wipes to do that. More than once, I've had somebody ask me for wipes at the road test because they didn't have anything, and the examiner will not get into the car if you haven't had a chance to sterilize it first. Again, this is the world that we're living in. They're going to take your temperature and they want you to clean the car before they get in the car. Any questions?
No, sir. I understand.
That's it? No questions? Okay, so I'll tell you what. Why don't we do a practice road test?
Good suggestion.
I want you to act like the DMV examiner and do a practice road test. So, I'm getting in the car. My car is not running. It's running now, but it won't be running when you go to take the test. You're going to start the car when they tell you to start the car. So remember, you get in the car, adjust your seat, adjust your mirrors, keep two hands on the steering wheel at all times, and listen to what the examiner tells you. So, Mr. Examiner, I'm in your hands.
Okay, your paperwork is correct. We're going to start your road test. So I'd like you to pull out, go up to the corner, and make a right turn.
Exaggerate the movements. Always use that smog technique. Now here, this corner, there's no white line. So I'm going to play it safe by stopping before the stop sign first. Then I'm going to stop again if necessary when I can see if there's any cars coming. And then I'm going to proceed. Remember to keep two hands on the wheel. Stay safely within your lane. Drive at the posted speed limits or slightly under. Don't go over any posted speed limits. And keep an eye on all the signs. Things change all the time.
I'd like you to change lanes to the left. And I'd like you to make a left turn at the next traffic signal.
Why was it that I slowed down in that case there? There was a school zone. I saw the sign and I reduced my speed as I entered the school zone. The light is green. I'll enter the intersection and make my turn.
I'd like you to change lanes to the right, one lane. And I'd like you to change lanes again to the right.
Notice how I moved over because I realized that the right lane was ending. Don't want to be in the right lane if that lane is the one that's coming to an end. On a road test in either the Hicksville or the Wantagh location, you will be required to merge at the beginning of a test.
I'd like you to make a right turn at the second traffic light you come to. Proceed straight. I'd like you to pull over somewhere and do a 3-point turn.
Is it all right if I go past here because I don't want to go by the double yellow line?
That's correct.
Okay. See, that type of question to a DMV examiner would be definitely acceptable because you're telling him that you're aware of the double yellow line and that you cannot cross. I'm waiting because I see a car coming from both directions. One turned, another one's still coming, so I'm going to wait. 3-point turns, if you remember, guys, you have to yield the right of way. Always exaggerate the look over the right shoulder and don't back up too far. Knees in the center of the street. There we go.
Continue straight. I'd like you to do a parallel park behind the red car coming up on the right. Okay, I'd like you to pull out and proceed straight. I'd like you to make a right turn at the next traffic signal.
Examiners will always give you very clear directions. And if you have a question, you can always ask them. Again, they are people just like you and me. So as I approach, my first goal is to check to see if there's any sign for a no turn on red, of which there is none, so it allows me to make a right on red. I made my full stop first. Now I'm going to inch up, but no way is it safe to proceed, so we'll wait right here. Now it looks like the light's changing.
Proceed straight when it's safe to do so. I'd like you to make a right turn after the train trestle. And now I'd like you to make a left turn at the next traffic signal at that intersection.
Notice when I was told to make a left turn at the next intersection, I was in the right lane. Common sense told me that I needed to move over to the left lane if I was going to be making a left-hand turn. So don't always wait for the words change lanes. Sometimes you just change lanes automatically.
Let's pull over here on the right curb. Your road test is complete.
How'd I do?
Excellent. We should mention that in reality, the road test will only take approximately 8 minutes, 7-8 minutes. We did a little longer road test, but that's not going to be the case on the real road test. Now that you've pulled over, the examiner is going to fill out the score and to see how you did. And you're going to get a printed receipt that will print out anything you did wrong and how many points associated with that incorrect maneuver. You have to have a score, as we said before, between 0 and 30. If that's the case and you do pass and have that score between 0 and 30, you must sign the document, the receipt that the examiner gives you, and that is your temporary license. You must carry that with you and your permit for your permission to drive. If you fail the road test, you'll have a score of 35 or higher, and your receipt will have all of the maneuvers you did incorrectly and the points associated with those maneuvers. So the lower the score, the better.
And let's also remember that if you pass the road test and you are under the age of 18, you will get a junior license unless you had the certificate from driver's ed when you took the test. Due to the pandemic, most of you are not going to have that certificate. You're going to have a 5-hour pre-licensing course certificate. If you have a junior license, no, you are not permitted to drive to school with a junior license. You can't go out on the weekends. You can't basically do anything except go to work. You're allowed to go to work with a junior license between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. You must have documentation in the vehicle that says you are indeed going to work. That is Form MV58A, the Certificate of Employment filled out by your employer, so that way you can drive to work with the junior license. Once again, you're not allowed to drive to school, but if this one makes any sense, you are allowed to drive where?
You're allowed to drive to your driver education class.
Does that make any sense? That you're allowed to drive to driver ed, but you can't go to milk? So that's just the way it is, guys.
But what if this driver education class, like normal, is at a school location?
Well, you're still not allowed to drive to school, even if your driver ed is right after school. That's one of those caveats. I mean, if you're able to go home after school and pick up a car and then drive to driver ed, that's fine. But you cannot drive to school just because driver ed is after school. It doesn't work like that. Everybody tries to get slick, okay? But that's not what it's about. If parents would read the DMV manuals and the restrictions, there'd be a lot less people driving illegally out there on the road. Too many parents just feel that their kid tells them that they can drive, then they're going to drive. Parents, you should read those manuals and read the restrictions before putting your kids out there on the road.
Now, can you explain how the weather might affect my taking my road test?
Well, there's only one real weather condition that could cause your road test to be canceled, and that's snow. All depending on how much snow, though. If it's just a couple of inches of snow, they're not going to cancel anything. But when you get those big snowstorms, yes, they can definitely cancel a road test. Keep this in mind. If you're going to take a road test in the wintertime, when booking a road test, it's best to book a road test in the afternoon. Because if it's snowing in the morning, the plows could clear the road and they could still be doing testing in the afternoon. They might cancel the morning appointments, but they'll still be testing in the afternoon. Rain. Obviously, if it's raining, use your windshield wipers, okay? Use your windshield wipers. In fact, if you're driving and it's raining and you're not using your windshield wipers, it's going to limit your visibility, and there's a good chance you could end up failing your road test just because you didn't use your windshield wipers. So it's important to make sure that you always use your wipers in the rain. Okay? What else do you have to have on besides your windshield wipers?
New York State law, whenever you have your windshield wipers on, even in the daytime, you must also have on your headlights.
And when they say headlights, they mean headlights. Explanation. There are a lot of cars out there that have what they call daytime running lights. The daytime running lights are usually the bright lights of a vehicle that come on at a reduced brightness. They're on constantly. The only problem with daytime running lights is the tail lamps do not come on with the daytime running lights. When your headlights are on, it turns on not only your headlights, but your tail lamps and side lights as well.
So you're mentioning that I will have to take my road test even if it's raining.
If it's raining, you must take your road test. You also want to make sure that the person, in all these years, the only time any road tests I've ever done due to rain that were canceled were Superstorm Sandy. That's the only time I've ever had a road test canceled due to rain. Okay? Most road tests are conducted during the rain. Don't forget the headlights, don't forget the wipers, and whoever brings you to the test, don't forget your umbrella either, because you're going to be standing out there on the side without any lean-tos or any kind of, shelter. It's standing right there on the side of the road, and you're going to need to bring an umbrella. You should always keep an umbrella in the car.
I did have an occasion one time at a road test in the summer when there was a torrential thunderstorm, and I was online with a student at the road test, and the examiners decided to wait until the storm passed before they started testing again. So it's a very rare occasion, but it's a possibility that they could hold you up on the line, make you wait a little longer, and then proceed to start testing again when the weather is cleared.
And you know what Tom Petty, one of our great American musicians who passed away, what he always said was the waiting was the hardest part. So when you're sitting there and you're on that line, and it's like, oh, God, I can't believe it. I got to wait and wait and wait. The waiting's the hardest part. The test itself is really very simple. The problem is you guys make it harder than it actually is. The road test, as was stated by my colleague, is between 7 or 8 minutes. Are you telling me that for 7 or 8 minutes you can't drive properly? See, now that's a problem as far as I'm concerned. I believe the road test should be much harder. I believe the road test should include driving on the expressway, driving on a parkway, merging at high speeds. And some states and countries, you do have to do that. But here in New York, you don't have to do that, because the DMV examiners don't need you to show them that you can get onto a highway. Years ago, there was a proposal where it was going to be you had to use a driving school car in order to take a road test, because there were accidents that were occurring and examiners were getting hurt. But for some reason, that law never went through. And you're allowed to use any car you want to take the road test. Using the driving school car, however, gives you a bit of an advantage. What is the advantage in using the driving school car? The DMV examiners, they know by you showing up in a driving school car that you've had some form of professional training, which they prefer anyone to have. Also, they feel much more comfortable when that brake pedal is sitting right there in front of them. Are they going to use it? Probably not. But having it there for them to use if necessary, that would be much more comfortable for an examiner, and they'll feel more relaxed when you're behind the wheel. So you always have a choice of using your own car or talking with your driving instructors and getting the forms to be able to use the driving school car for you to take the road test.
I just want to review quickly on the practice road test we did. Everything that we did today is going to be on the road test. We did some right turns, some left turns, parallel parking, 3-point turn, lane changes. We did a right on red the proper way. We did a left turn the proper way by yielding. So those are the things that are very important that you practice so you can pass your road test on the first time. Occasionally, when students take a road test, they come back and they say they never did a parallel park or a 3-point turn. What do you think that means?
Usually, if you never did a parallel park or a 3-point turn, we call that the Megan theory, because I had a student who was another instructor's student that I had to take for a road test. She was getting the 45-minute lesson before the test, and I told her we have plenty of time to work. I didn't even know her, so I just met her, and I told her we have plenty of time to work on everything. I only want to work on parallel parking. I said, but there's plenty of time for anything, right turns, left turns, lane changes. I only want to work on parallel parking. I'm not about to argue with her. So that was it. We pulled out of the school, went down the block, and started to work on parallel parking. She pulled up alongside a car to parallel park, and I looked in the rearview mirror behind us, and there was this brown car. And he was staying back. So by him staying there, I had her do the parallel park. She wasn't very good at it, so I tried to help her. Then she went to go do another parallel park around the block, and there was this brown car again. And kind of under my voice, I said, looking in the mirror, what's with this brown car? And she says, oh, that's my dad. I says, your dad is following us during the lesson? She's like, yeah, well, that's okay, isn't it? I said, oh, sure, absolutely. So we get to the road test line, and quite honestly with you, she's sitting there saying, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. I says, no need to freak out. Try to relax. She goes to take the test. She comes back a couple minutes later, gets out of the car, slams the door, and runs to her dad, which was good because that meant I didn't have to take her home. But she runs to her dad. I take one look at the examiner. I said, so what happened? And she said, that girl really has no concept of driving. She did not know how to merge. She messed up at the first merge where the right lane came to an end at the Wantor road test. She messed up. So I said, I happen to know the examiner. So I said, so tell me, how'd she do on the parallel park? And she told me, she says, are you kidding? I didn't even give her a chance to. So.
Okay, we're going to end this lesson, and we'll be back in a few minutes with our final completing class number 16.